Okay. Hello friends. Can you hear me? Everything correct? Everything fine? Okay. Hello friends. Can you hear me? Everything correct? Everything fine? Okay. Hello friends. Okay. Chalo. Today we are starting with nature and formation of contract of sale. This is your chapter of Sale of Goods Act, one unit of Sales of Goods Act. But before I start, I just want to tell you, give information about Yashash and Unacademy. As you all know, guys, Yashash has joined hands with Unacademy, and we have already started our new batch for CS Executive Module 2, which has already been started on 12th of Jan. So if it has been started, then you must be wondering, then ma'am, why should I join it, right? All lectures are gone. But don't worry, once you download the Unacademy batch or app, obviously you will be able to see the recorded lectures, attend the live lectures, remaining live lectures you can attend, and you can even see the past recorded lectures. And the recorded lectures you can see n number of times. Seriously, n number of times without any restrictions. Plus, you can, when you are attending live lectures, you will feel like it is an offline lecture only, because you have a same everything what you can do in offline. You can raise your hands, you can ask your doubts, you can do voice chat with your educators, and we will solve your doubt immediately whenever how we solve in the class. So what are you waiting for, guys? Please download Unacademy app and use the code YASHASH live for availing 10% discount. Now, you must be wondering, ma'am, how much subscription we can take. See, it depends upon your choice, obviously. If you are planning to give one module, that is one module in June and one module in December 22, then what you can do, guys, you can take 12-month subscription, because it is one full year, right? So you can take 12-month subscription. But if you feel, no ma'am, we are going to do and clear it off, we don't want to extend it till December, we want to clear it off in June only, and we will give both the groups, then you can avail for 6-month subscription. But my advice is that better you take 12-month subscription. Okay, so let's start with today's session, that is nature and formation of contract of sale. Guys, I know that you must be knowing what is Sale of Goods Act, right? You must be knowing Contract Act, Sale of Goods Act, because we have done somewhere or other. Now, this part we'll do it today. Let's start. Just I'll show you. Okay. Chalo. Let's start. Okay. Chalo. Now, what is Sale of Goods Act? And for that you have to do first definitions. Acha, ma'am, for Sale of Goods Act we have to do definitions. Correct? Definitions is very important. You should understand what are definitions. Okay, so first we'll do the definitions, two definitions, right? Okay, if it is Sale of Goods Act, there is a sale. So obviously there will be two parties. Ma'am, if there are two parties, what will be the name of the two parties? See, one will be buyer and one will be seller. So one is buyer and one is seller. If I say who is buyer and who is seller, guys, you must be knowing, and we know that the person who buys the good, the person who buys or agrees to buy the good. So in future, so if I say person who buys the goods or agrees to buy the goods, that is considered as buyer. And who is seller? The person who sells the goods or agrees to sell the goods is considered as seller. Oh, we did two definitions. Yes, buyer and seller. Now one more definition we will do, contract of sale. Now see, as you all know, contract, so it is a contract, right? Contract of sale, I can say, contract of sale. Now, in contract of sale, there are two parts. One is sale, that is SALE, sale, and one is agreement to sell. Agreement to sell, spelling you see SELL. So obviously it will be in future. This sale is being done. So here in sale, the ownership is being transferred from seller to buyer immediately. So the ownership is transferred from seller to buyer immediately. So here ownership, but don't write ownership when it comes to Sale of Goods Act. Right? Always instead of ownership write property in goods. Ma'am, what do you understand by the word property in goods? Means ownership. But don't write ownership. Instead of ownership, write property in goods. So I'm just writing for your knowledge purpose. Please in exam don't write ownership. Instead of ownership, just write property in goods. Acha. So ma'am, if I say sale, sale means what? Transfer. Obviously you transfer. Transfer what? Property in goods. Okay. Property in goods you transferred to whom? From, obviously it goes to buyer. From seller to buyer. But what time? Immediately. Immediately. So it is considered as sale. Now if I talk about agreement to sell, right? So here also you have to write only one word, that is property in goods. So what is the difference between sale and agreement to sell? In sale, the property in goods is transferred immediately, whereas in agreement to sell, it's future, guys, it's future. So property in goods is transferred in near future. So not today but at future time. At future time. So property in goods is being transferred not today but at future time, or on fulfillment of certain conditions. Or on fulfillment of certain conditions. On fulfillment of certain conditions. Okay, ma'am. So we understood. Contract of sale is divided into two parts. One is sale and agreement to sale. In sale, the property in goods is transferred immediately, whereas in agreement to sell, the property in goods is transferred at a future time or on fulfillment of certain condition. Future time means not today, obviously in future. For example, if I went to Manish Malhotra, I told Manish Malhotra that Manish Malhotra, I want a lehenga, right? But of my choice, I want my choice. So I want blue color, then some latkan should be there, this should be there, golden should be there, silver should be there. I told him that. Okay, done. Now I told that I want that lehenga. You should deliver me on 23rd July, not today, at a future date, 23rd July. So this is called what, beta? This is called agreement to sell. This is not sale. But when I say I want to sell you a bike, so I give you a bike, you give me money, that is sale, because ownership I have transferred it immediately, that is considered as sale. Now as you know, we have done in contract act, sale is done immediately, so it is called, we do simultaneously today itself, so it is considered as executed contract. It is considered as executed contract. But if I say agreement to sell, obviously it will be considered as executory, future, right? So it is be considered as executory contract. Okay, so we did everything. What is sale, what is agreement to sell? Now we have to do the definition of contract of sale. Definition of sale and definition of agreement to sell. Okay, now let's start with definition of contract of sale. Guys, what is contract of sale? Contract of sale is whereby the ownership is being transferred, but instead of ownership you will write property in goods. So here it is given, beta. Contract of sale is nothing but a contract whereby the seller transfers or agrees to transfer, seller transfers or agrees to transfer what? with a property in goods to buyer and not obviously free of cost for some price, that is called contract of sale. Now in sale, now always remember in sale we'll start with under contract of sale. Under contract of sale. Ma'am, why we write under contract of sale? Logic, it is a part of contract of sale, right? So we will write under contract of sale, where under the contract of sale the property in goods is transferred from whom, beta? From seller to buyer, and the contract is called sale. The contract is called sale. Simple, right? In agreement to sell, the property in goods, see, first again we have to start under the contract of sale. The property in goods is to be taken place not today but at future time or on the fulfillment of some condition thereafter. Then the contract is considered to be an agreement to sell. Now we have to do the distinction between sale and agreement to sell, but before I do the distinction between agreement to sell and sale, I just want to ask you, can you tell me when agreement to sell becomes sale? Obviously at some point of time an agreement to sell will become sale. Okay ma'am, you gave the example of Manish Malhotra that my agreement to sell, that is agreement to sell. So when it will become sale, obviously ma'am, that future time when it will arrive, when 23rd July will arrive, he will give you that lehenga, you will pay the money, obviously ownership is being transferred. That time an agreement to sell will become sale. So obviously when it will become very easy, when it will become, when future date arrives, that future date where you have promised that arrives or you fulfill the condition. Future date arrives or you fulfill the condition. So buyer fulfills the condition, that time beta, that time an agreement to sell will become sale. Now let's do the distinction between sale and agreement to sell. Acha, I'm just writing sell, right? Sale and agreement to sell. Now obviously first, ma'am, we know it that here the ownership is transferred immediately. So property in goods is transferred immediately. He just transferred at future date or on the fulfillment of certain condition. Second, also we know, ma'am, you told me it is an executed contract, and here it is executory contract. It is executed contract and it is executory contract. So two things we did. Okay ma'am, third, what will be there? See, now in sale, right, think, who is the owner of the goods? Who is the owner of the goods? Obviously ma'am, I can say buyer is the owner of the goods. Ma'am, why buyer is the owner? Because immediately ownership is being transferred, the buyer is the owner of the goods. So your buyer becomes the owner of the goods, but in agreement to sell, still the seller is only the owner of the goods. So right now seller is owner of the goods unless and until it becomes sale. So till agreement to sell is always the owner of the goods is seller. So Manish Malhotra will only be the owner of the goods, right? Acha. So ma'am, the person who is the owner of the goods will bear the risk, obviously. So in this case, buyer will bear the risk. Guys, every time remember, the person who is the owner of the goods will bear the risk, because ownership and risk goes hand in hand. The person who is the owner will bear the risk. So your buyer will bear the risk and your seller will bear the risk. Oh, okay ma'am, give an example how seller gives the bears the risk. I'll just give you an example. See, Manish Malhotra, he did all lehengas and everything, and it is ready by, suppose for example, you can say 21st of July, right? We have promised that he will give me the ownership on 23rd July, right? But it was ready by 21st of July. Very good. Now what happened on 21st of July night? No, the showroom caught fire and obviously my lehenga was burnt. Now you think and tell me who will bear the risk? Who will bear the risk? Obviously ma'am, who will bear the risk? Seller will bear the risk, because The ownership is yet to be transferred. The ownership is not yet transferred to you. So obviously seller will bear the risk and not buyer. Understood? So I will not bear the risk. Obviously Manish will bear the risk. I hope I am very, very clear. Okay, so done that with distinction also we did. So here also guys, if you can see, we did distinction. Here it is immediately, here it is future date, here it is executed, here it is executory, here it is loss is borne by buyer because buyer is the owner of the goods. Here obviously loss is borne by the seller because seller is the owner of the goods. Now one more point, if you can remember, remedies in the case of breach of contract. So here if the seller refuses to give the goods, obviously buyer has a right to claim the goods. Why buyer has a right to claim the goods? Because buyer is the owner of the goods. Now obviously whenever you see that and give the decision, always think who is the owner of the goods. The owner of the goods will have the right over the goods, right? So if the seller refuses to deliver the goods, the buyer may recover the goods from the seller and file the suit. But in agreement to sell, if seller refuses to give the goods, buyer cannot recover the goods. Only thing the buyer can recover the advance payment if it's given. Simple. So if the seller refuses to deliver the goods, buyer cannot recover the goods. Why he cannot recover? Because the owner is still seller. So buyer cannot recover the goods from seller. He can only recover for the damages. Obviously he can recover the damages, or if he has paid the price, then he can recover that price also. Okay, now your remedies. Second, if the buyer refuses to pay the price, this is sale. If the buyer refuses to pay the price, then seller cannot recover the goods. Logic here, because only buyer is still the owner. So if the buyer refuses to pay the price, then seller can recover only the price of the goods. So seller can claim and file a suit against buyer for the recovery of the price of the goods, and maximum he can claim the interest on it, but nothing more than that. The seller may recover the price, right? Not goods, price. But here if the buyer fails to pay, right, seller can get the goods back. Why? Because seller has not transferred the ownership yet. So if the buyer refuses to pay the price, seller can only recover the damages for the breach of the contract from the buyer by filing a suit in the court of law. So here it says that if you have given the possession, two things. If you have given the possession, obviously you can recover your goods back. But if you have not given the possession, nothing you can do. You cannot suit for the price, right? You cannot suit for the price. You can just suit for the damages. So here the seller can suit for the price, and here the seller can suit for the damages. But here they cannot recover the goods because buyer is the owner of the goods. I hope everything is clear over here. Now we will do essential elements of contract of sale. Now this is guys very easy. Essential elements, if I could talk about essential elements of contract of sale, right, it is a contract. So obviously all the essential elements of the contract should be present. For example, offer should be there, acceptance should be there, consideration should be there, free consent should be there. Everything, every essential elements should be present. Simple, every essential element should be present. Like offer, acceptance, lawful consideration, free consent, mutual consent. It should be certain, it should not be impossible, it should not be void. So everything should be present to offer a valid contract. Oh ma'am, so every essentials of valid contract should be there. There will always be two parties, one will be buyer and one will be seller. And in sale, obviously there is a transfer of property in goods and not only possession. So here the seller is not only giving the possession, but also he is transferring the ownership. So ownership should be transferred for the price. If you remember, we did for the price. So here obviously it should be transferred for a price, and the subject matter should be goods. And the subject matter should be goods and not services. So if you have availed the services of the classes, right, obviously that contract will not come under SOGA. Why it will not come under SOGA? Because, very simple, because that is services and that is not the goods. So here first you see all the requirements of valid contract should be present. Obviously I told there must be two parties to the contract of sale. One will be buyer and one will be seller, and the goods must be the subject matter. So services can't be the subject matter, goods must be the subject matter. And the property in goods, property in goods means ownership, right? The property in goods means ownership must be transferred to the buyer, right? And obviously for a price, it should not be free of cost. If it is free of cost, then it is a gift, right? So it should not be free of cost, it would be for some price, right? Okay, ma'am, then we understood what is essential elements of the contract. Now we have to do one more definition called definition of goods, right? So I hope you understood everything. Okay, let's start with definition of goods. Okay, okay, let's start with the definition of goods. Okay, what is definition of goods? Okay, first, see, there are two kinds of property. One is movable property, one is immovable property, right? If I say immovable property will never come in SOGA. It will be covered in another act, that is called TOPA, right? So obviously immovable property question will never come over here, because there is a separate act for immovable property, that is TOPA, right? So all contracts related to immovable property is covered under TOPA, that is Transfer of Property Act, which you also have have a chapter. So that is considered Transfer of Property Act. Done. Okay, now if I say goods means which kind of property? So you understood, ma'am, goods means every kind of movable property. So here you have to write every kind of movable property. Every kind of movable property. So ma'am, if I am doing a contract to sell the land is immovable property, so land will not covered under SOGA, then that contract will be covered under TOPA. Okay, very good, ma'am. Now if I am going to sell you gold, yes, gold is a movable property, mobile is a movable property, right? So that movable property will be covered under SOGA. So goods means every kind of movable property other than. Now if I say, ma'am, other than means what? What do you mean by the word other than? Other than means except. So obviously except this two, it will be considered, this will not be considered as goods, right? Okay, so how to read, ma'am, how to understand the definition? It's like goods means every kind of movable property other than money. Oh ma'am, money is not the goods. No, money is not the goods. So can you give example? I'll just give you one example. Suppose I gave 1 rupee, right? I gave 1 rupee to Akshay, and instead Akshay gave me 70. No, I'm so sorry. This I did ulta. I gave 70 rupees to Akshay, right? And Akshay gave me 70 rupees to Akshay, and Akshay instead of that 70 rupees gave me $1. Now see, 70 rupees is a money, $1 is a money. So we are exchanging money. So the subject matter goods is not there. That condition is not satisfied, that the subject matter should be goods. So obviously this is not considered, and this will not come under SOGA. This is exchange of monies, right? So or else I give you one example. I gave you rupees 10, right? Instead you gave me rupee 2k 5 coins. Rupee 2k 5 coins. Whether it is considered as SOGA goods, no. So whether it will be covered in SOGA, no, because money is not considered as goods. Okay, ma'am. So money is not considered as good. Second, we say actionable claim is also not considered as goods. Actionable claim. Ma'am, what do you mean by actionable claim? Now, what do you mean by actionable claim? Actionable claim means, best example of actionable claim is debt bidder. Debt. Right. It means what, ma'am? Suppose, for example, I have given loan to Miss Twinkle. I have given loan to Twinkle, but Twinkle didn't repay me the loan. Didn't repay me the loan. Okay. So I gave loan to Twinkle. She didn't repay me the loan. Now what will happen over here? What will happen over here? I can file a suit against her and can claim the amount. So it means I am taking an action to claim the amount. Obviously, this is considered as an actionable claim. So because I am a creditor, Twinkle is a debtor. There is a debt. Right? I am a creditor, Twinkle is debtor. There is a debt. So obviously, this is considered as actionable claim. So ma'am, actionable claim. So I have a right. In fact, I can say now I have a right to claim the amount. So that right is not considered as a goods. That right is not considered as goods. So ma'am, obviously the right to take an action and to claim the amount, that is not considered as goods. Then which act it will be covered? Again, it will be covered under TOPA, not under SOGA. Okay. So I hope you understood this. Goods means every kind of movable property other than money and actionable claim. But it includes, ma'am, it includes what? First, it includes grass, growing crops, stocks and shares. Shares and stocks. So it is like that. Actually, it is like that. It includes shares and stocks, so you will understand the exact definition. Grass, growing crops. Wait, I'll come to it, and one more is there. Wait, first it is shares in stock. Ma'am, obviously shares are considered as goods. Absolutely, your equity shares are considered as goods. Ma'am, what do you mean by stock? You are talking about closing stock and opening stock. I'm sorry, it is not closing stock and opening stock. Shares is nothing but like a stock is nothing but like a share. There is very thin line of difference between shares and stock. For example, if I say I am holding rupees 10, if I say rupees 10, then I will say rupees 10 ka stock. If I have rupees 10, it means I have rupees 10 ka stock. For example, again I can give you one example. If I have 10 shares, of suppose 5 rupees each, right? So I will say I have 10 shares. I have 10 shares of 5 rupees each, right? So obviously I will tell 50 rupees stock I have. So that lump sum amount is considered as stock, and that individual is considered as shares. Simple. So individually 1, 2, 3, 4, that is considered as shares, and the lump sum amount is considered as stock. So whether you call it as shares or whether you call it as stock, both are considered as goods. So if I make a contract to sell you 50 rupees ka stock, it will come under SOGA. If I make a contract to sell you 10 shares, obviously it will also come under SOGA, because shares and stocks are considered as goods. Second, grass, I hope you understand better. I cannot explain you grass you know. Growing crops, the crops which are growing, that are also considered as goods. And the things which are attached to earth, the things which are attached to earth, The things which are attached to earth, which can be severed, which can be severed. Severed means separated, obviously separated, at the time of contract. At the time of contract, obviously then it is considered as goods. Ma'am, but we did understand this line, things which are attached to earth. Now I will tell you this line. If suppose, for example, if I see this is a tree, right? Tree is attached to earth. Okay, then obviously on trees there are many apples. Now many apples are there. Now ma'am, apples are attached to tree. Now see, apples are attached to tree, tree is attached to earth, so obviously I can say apples are attached to earth. This we did. A is equal to B, B is equal to C, so A is equal to C. We did, right? So I can say apples are attached to earth. Okay. Now the things which are attached to earth, so apples are attached to earth, which can be severed, which can be separated. You can pluck the apples, right? So which can be separated. So you can pluck all the apples and keep it in the basket. Okay, you can pluck all the apples which can be severed at the time of contract, separated at the time of contract. So these apples are considered as goods. I hope you understood. So goods means, so last I will just give the two minutes revision, then one more point is left in goods. Goods means every kind of movable property which includes and excludes something. I hope you understood. So goods means every kind of movable property other than money and actionable claim, but it includes shares in stock, grass, growing crops, things which are attached to earth which can be severed at the time of the contract. I hope this is very easy. Now tell me whether this comes under SOGA or not. Okay, so I made a contract with, suppose, Rakhi. I made a contract with Rakhi and I told Rakhi, I will sell you old rare coins, right? Obviously of very old rare coins, first human coins, or the coins which were in Gandhiji's age that time, right? Old rare coins for rupees 5 lakhs. Now tell me whether this will come under SOGA, yes or no. Confusion, ma'am. Money, you told it's not a goods, but old rare coins are being like an antique. Correct. So old rare coins are not considered as money. They are considered as an antique piece, right? So if it is an antique piece, obviously it will be considered as goods. So ma'am, your old rare coins will not be considered as money. So what comes under money? Money, it comes only the currency note, current currency note, which you are using it, right? Current currency note, 500 rupees note, or 2000 rupees note, or 100 rupees note, or 50 rupees note, which you are using right now. That is considered as money. Old rare coins will not be considered as money. So if I say over here money, so bracket mein you can write over here other than old rare coins, or you can write except old rare coins. This means what? Old rare coins are considered as coins. Old rare coins, they are considered as goods. I hope very clear about it. Okay, chal, I'll just show you the definition of goods. Guys, please remember section in the goods. Section is section 2 clause 7, that is of Sale of Goods Act. Goods means every kind of movable property. See, I told movable property other than actionable claims and money, but includes stocks and shares, growing crops, grass, and things which are attached to or forming part of land, yani earth, obviously, which are agreed to be severed, yani separated before the sale or under the contract of sale. Okay, that is goods. Now we have to do the types of goods. There are different three types of the goods. One is existing goods, one is future goods, one is contingent good. I need not explain you what is existing goods. The goods which are in existence, which are already manufactured, that is considered as existing goods. In that existing goods, obviously there will be two things. In that existing goods there will be two things. One will be two types. One will be specific goods and one will be unascertained goods, right? There will be one more part, but one more part why I have not written I will tell you. But before that I will first teach you what is existing goods. Existing goods, I hope you understood that the goods which are already manufactured, that kind of goods is known as existing goods. Okay, ma'am, we understood existing goods. Now, in existing goods, we will take the meaning of specific goods. For example, one sec. You went to showroom to purchase a car. Car. There are three different types of cars. Okay. Okay. Suppose Varun went to purchase a car, right? This is a car showroom. Now, at the time of contract, when he is telling, I want to buy car, and he is also telling, I want to sell car. So, there is a contract between buyer and seller, and that time only they decide. Obviously, you don't have to choose anything from the bulk. That time only decide. So, Varun says, I want this yellow car. So, obviously, if I say I want this yellow car, the contract, at the time of contract only the goods are identified. So, at the time of contract, when the goods are identified, so Varun will identify the goods. I want this yellow car, and seller will say, okay, I will sell you this yellow car. Such kind of goods are known as specific goods. So what are specific goods basically, ma'am? Specific goods are those goods which are identified and agreed upon. At the time of contract. So specific goods are those goods which are identified and agreed upon at the time of contract. So I have identified it also and we have agreed also to the same thing. Then it is considered as specific goods. Oh, only that much, ma'am. Correct. Now we'll come to unascertained goods. Okay. Now suppose for example, this is a shop. Right. And he is dealer in coconut oil. He is dealer only in coconut oil. Okay. Now this is a shop. Okay. Suppose for example I can say here Rajpal. Okay, Rajpal. He is dealer in coconut oil. And here obviously there one person comes Nana Patekar. Right. Nana Patekar comes to Rajpal and tells, hey bro, I want 1 tin of coconut oil, right? Yeah, 100 liter tin of coconut oil. Okay, now what obviously Rajpal Yadav here, the contract is already made. He is telling that I want coconut oil and Rajpal is telling I want to sell you the coconut oil. But that coconut oil ka tin is in godown. That is not here, it is in godown. So assume there are a lot of tins over here. See, 1, I will tell you this is 1, this is 2, this is bulk, right? All coconut oil ka tin is over here. Now, now see, suppose we give numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. I just want 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now listen now here. Suppose Nana Patekar is telling that I want coconut oil. Rajpal is telling, okay, I will sell you the coconut oil. Contract is done. But yet the goods are yet to be identified. Right? Yet to be identified. And if it is not identified, obviously it is not agreed also. So that type of goods are considered as unascertained goods. That type of goods are considered as unascertained goods. Now, what do you mean by unascertained goods? What do you mean by unascertained goods? Unascertained goods are those goods which are not identified, but are not identified. See, because it is not identified which oil tin he will get. Right? I know all oil ka tin is same, but obviously you have to identify from a bulk. From bulk you have to identify. So yet it is not identified. At the time of contract it is not identified. So it is considered as unascertained goods. So it is not identified and even not agreed. So if it is not identified, logically even it is not agreed upon, then it is called unascertained goods. So now we did two types of goods. One is obviously, one we did specific goods. Specific goods are those goods which are identified and agreed upon, obviously, and unascertained goods are those goods which are not identified and not agreed upon. Okay, ma'am. Now this unascertained goods will obviously become ascertained at some given point of time. Now how it will be ascertained? Simple. Now what Rajpal will do, beta? Rajpal will go down, right? He will select one tin, in pin, safety pin, in pin, out. He will select one tin. Okay. Suppose he selected number 4. Okay, number 4. And he bought here. Okay, now see, the goods are identified. Now the goods are identified, right? And he told Nana, this tin is for you, right? Take the delivery of the goods. This tin I have appropriated for your contract. I have set aside for your contract. Oh, okay. So now, ma'am, the goods are identified. Yes, now it has been identified. Now it has been agreed upon also. So now, when it has been identified and agreed upon? After the contract. After the contract, so it is considered as ascertained goods. So unascertained goods are those goods which are not identified and not agreed upon at the time of contract. Time of contract. And ascertained goods. See guys, now it has been ascertained. Ascertained means obviously you identify. Ascertained means you identify. Right. So now it has been identified. And okay, now it has been identified and obviously now it is agreed upon also. Now it is identified and now it is agreed upon also. But when it is identified and agreed upon, obviously after the contract of sale. After the contract of sale, then it is considered as ascertained goods. So just to sum up, I'll give you here, okay, types of goods. One, obviously we are talking about existing goods. Existing goods. In existing goods, if I say, there are basically two types. One will be specific goods and one will be unascertained goods. The specific goods are those goods which are identified and agreed upon at the time of contract. Right? And unascertained goods are those goods which are not identified and not agreed upon. at the time of contract. Okay, now this unascertained goods obviously at some given point of time will become ascertained goods. Will become ascertained goods, right? Acha, obviously it will become ascertained goods. Yes, it will become ascertained goods. Now, when it becomes ascertained goods, when the goods are identified and agreed upon after the contract, right, then it is considered as ascertained goods. Acha, ma'am, so we understood everything, types of goods we understood. Now let's come to future goods. So here future goods are nothing but the goods which are yet to be manufactured, that are considered as future goods. Very simple. And what are contingent goods? Contingent goods are those goods which are seller may or may not sell. Oh, how is this possible? For example, I'll tell you, if I will get, seller is telling that if I will get the book from the publisher, I will sell to you. If I will not get the book from publisher, I will not sell to you. Simple. So I may or may not sell. For example, one more, a fisherman tells that I will sell you fish if there is no cyclone in the sea. So if the sea there is a cyclone, obviously I will not sell you the fish. Logic. So if there is a cyclone, I will not go for fishing. I will not go for fishing. I will not get fish. If I will not get fish, obviously I will not sell you the fish. If there is no cyclone, obviously I will go for fishing. I will catch the fish. I will get the fish. I will sell you the fish. So I may or may not sell you the fish depending upon cyclone. Or I may or may not sell you the book depending upon the publisher gives me or not. So that is considered as contingent goods. So I hope you understood, guys. So this is existing goods obviously, and here existing goods, I told you specific goods is there, unascertained goods is there, and obviously here I can say ascertain. I already explained you ascertained goods, right? So future goods are also there which are not yet in existence, which are yet to be manufactured, that are considered as future goods. And contingent goods, there may be the contract for the sale of the goods, the acquisition of which the seller depends upon certain contingency which may happen, which may not happen. For example, P contracts to sell 50 pieces of the article. Condition, the ship reaches the port safely. So if the ship reaches the port safely, I will sell you. If doesn't, then I will not sell you. That is contingent goods. Okay, ma'am. So we understood the types of goods. Now this is nothing but effect of perishing goods. Now what do you mean by, ma'am, effect of perishing goods? Now there are two sections now. Okay. One, there is section 7 and one there is section 8. Okay. Now section 7 says that the goods are perished before the contract of sale. So if I say before I entered into a contract, the goods were already perished and we didn't knew about that. I'll give you example, don't worry. Section 7 says before the contract of sale. So goods are perished before the contract of sale. Here it is telling the goods are perished after the contract of sale, or I can say after I have already entered into an agreement to sell. After agreement to sell, so I have already entered into a contract after agreement to sell, but before sale. Before I delivered the goods and everything happened, before I execute the contract, the goods were perished. But I have already entered into a contract, agreement to sell. Oh, so ma'am, this is before only. For example, don't worry, I'll give you example. For example, if on 15th of March, I and Akshay decided to enter into a contract. I told that I will sell you horse, and he told okay, I will buy the horse. We entered into a contract on 15th of March. But on 14th of March, the horse was already dead. The horse was already dead, and we were not aware about that. Neither I was aware about the horse death, neither Akshay was aware about the horse death. We both were not aware about the death of the horse. Oh, okay, ma'am. So you both were not aware? No. Now what? If we both were not aware, 15, obviously I can't deliver the horse because the horse is already dead. Now you tell me, when I made the contract, the goods were perished after the contract or before the contract? Obviously, ma'am, it was perished before the contract. So if the goods were perished before the contract, that section 7 applies and it becomes a void agreement. Right? It becomes a void agreement. Ma'am, this we have learned in a Contract Act also. Absolutely, you might have learned in Contract Act also. In Contract Act, you might have learned it as bilateral mistake. You can say it's bilateral mistake, or you can say mutual mistake. Whatever you want to give it, it's okay. Bilateral means both the parties there is a mistake. There is an error in belief. I am believing the horse is still alive. Even seller is also believing that the horse is still alive. So we entered into a contract on 15th of March, but the fact was on 14th of March the horse was dead. So the goods were perished before entering into a contract of sale. So that is considered as void agreement because it is void ab initio, void from very beginning. Okay, ma'am, now we understood. Now section 8 says what? Section 8 says that the goods were perished after agreement to sell, but before it became sale. For example, see this example only I will twist. I told Akshay that I will sell you horse on 15th of March, right, on 15th of March, and I will deliver you the horse on 18th of March. So I'll transfer you the ownership and deliver you the possession and everything on 18th of March. Done. Now, we entered into an agreement to sell. See, we entered into an agreement to sell. After agreement to sell, your horse is alive. Your horse is alive, right? Okay. Now, but what happened on 17th March? So, before sale, on 17th March, the horse died. The horse died, right? So before 17th March the horse died, right? Now it is after agreement to sell, but before sale. Oh, ma'am, so this is void contract. This is void contract. Oh, ma'am, it is void contract, correct? So it is not right from beginning, it is void. First it was valid. See, here on 15th March it was valid, right? Because the horse was alive and everything was normal. Okay, selling of horse is not wrong, so valid. Now 17th March horse died. So automatically that contract became void. It's not void from starting, it became void. Difference is there, right? If I say void from starting, it is void ab initio. If I say void became void, means first it was valid and now it became void, then obviously it is a void contract, right? So this became void contract. So section 7 says void agreement and section 8 says void contract. Oh, so ma'am, here we cannot write void ab initio. No, never ever, don't please write void ab initio. It was not void from very beginning. First it was void and then it became, my mistake, first it was valid, then it became void. Right? I hope you understood that. Please see. Okay, here in this provision they have used the word contract. Don't get confused, but yes, while understanding, please remember this is void agreement. This is void agreement and this is void contract. Understood? Even though I have written contract, but still You know, while understanding purpose, just remember this is void agreement and this is void contract. Chalo, now let's start here, beta. Goods perishing before the contract. See, before the contract, goods were perishing before the contract. The contract is void if the contract is for the sale of specific goods. Thus, the rule is based on the mutual mistake. See, I told you in Contract Act we have done mutual mistake, or you can say bilateral mistake of fact. Essential to the contract renders the contract void. Guys, even though it is written render the contract void, you know it is a void agreement. It is void ab initio. Just, provision, it is written contract void, but it's not void contract, it is void agreement. Next, goods perishing after the agreement to sell. Right? The contract is void if the contract is for the sale of specific goods and the goods are destroyed. So the goods were destroyed. First it was there. Now the goods are destroyed without the fault of seller or buyer. Then obviously it is considered as a void contract. I hope you understood everything. So here in short we did everything. Now obviously this price and everything definitions we'll do in next session. Right? Okay. So next sessions I will be completing this topic. Okay, so this is first sale of goods act ka first unit, that is nature and formation of contract of sale. Okay, I hope you understood everything. I hope you like everything. So please subscribe the channel so that you will get all the notifications when I take more YouTube lectures for the same. Okay. Okay, I think I'm done. Okay. There was so much chattings over here, but seriously, I can't understand the language. What it is VOR? Okay. Seriously, okay. Chalo, let's complete the topic and let's end the session over here. Bye. Take care. Sayonara. Bye. Bye.